Happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody out there. And such an honor to bring in a cat who I think recognized early on that to really be a true musician, true artist, it was about really meeting your own standards, being as singular as possible in your playing to be identified, and most importantly, inspiring other people to be themselves in whatever work medium that they're doing. Jimmy Haslip, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hey, thanks for having me there. Um, I appreciate your introduction, and I've always been a little bit what you might call a musician on the fringe.
Why don't you break the? I mean, like I love the Fringe. I mean, to me, it's like, I mean, we just lost. Unfortunately, we just lost.
Ralph Towner.
Well, Towner. Okay, so Towner. I was just thinking about Bob Weir too, and it was just
Oh
like,
God, yeah,
they
Bob.
were like, they asked him, how do you stay current? He's like, I don't think we, the Grateful Dead, were ever current. And to me, like, ultimately, that's going to put you outside some sort of mainstream bubble, but at the same time, being on the fringe is actually the greatest place to be because I mean anything goes within within the out of bounds lines, within the in and out. I just wanted you to break that down.
Pretty much. I mean, I think it all starts with me just playing music since I was like 7 years old. In school when uh, um, regular school had music programs. So my elementary school out in Huntington, Long Island, had a music program, which was a kind of a huge surprise. I remember having a music teacher come into our classroom when I was in the fourth grade and say, "Who wants to learn how to play an instrument?"
That
And
is so. I mean, this is warming my heart. Suffolk County pride, man. Stony Brook for me, dude. Unbelievable. So I mean, it was considered. I mean, I just want to be clear, Jimmy. Like in your fourth grade old mind, though, it was considered being a musician was considered a viable profession.
That's right.
Yeah.
It absolutely was, and so they definitely honored that sentiment in the school for anyone that had uh, any aspiration to learn how to play an instrument. For whatever reason, for just because you liked. I happen to like the trumpet, so I thought the trumpet was cool. So that's what I learned how to play when I was 7.
Were you like?
And
I mean, were you um, like in that sort of Louis Armstrong bag, or you weren't, or was it like Clifford Brown, or was it just you were playing just sort of on your own?
I think one of the first things that really kind of got me excited was listening to, my parents. Well, the house I grew in up in was inundated with music because I
That's
had an old.
awesome. That is
old
freaking amazing, dude.
My parents loved music and they were always listening to records. And I think once hanging out with my parents, they put on an Al Hurt record.
Oh man, dude,
So
so
that,
great.
yeah,
Rampart Street Parade.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love it, man.
So, which is funny because I eventually I ended up living in New Orleans for a couple of years. So,
Wow.
so I really got deeper into that culture of music there, which is very different than anywhere else in the U.S. But that was the first like the catalyst, I guess, for me to get into playing an instrument, and I played in the little elementary school big band.
You're telling me legitimately that like the elementary school had its own big band.
Yeah,
I mean, this wasn't like a classicalized thing, and maybe you were playing like pop hits of the day or Herb Albert tunes, or I mean, like To me, you grew. I mean, what's funny is that it says your career started essentially, or your pro career started in '77. So I was born in '78, which is so. But I mean, you grew up. Your ears were growing at the most insane time in music history,
Yeah.
and I mean, whether or not you knew it, I don't even know if I'd be hip or not to be into it. But I mean, just the idea that you had a big band in elementary school is
And that
absolute fascinating.
and that's in the 50s.
In the late, I mean, are you kidding? No, it was not. It was
Yeah,
like
late 50s.
late
So
50s. Are you kidding me, dude? This was
no.
like, what were you playing, like Coleman Hawkins tunes? I mean, what's
No.
going on?
Well, it wasn't that hip. Yeah.
I know. No, of course it
Because
wasn't. Yeah,
because we were just young kids. So, we learned a bunch of marches even,
sure.
which were kind of cool. But like a tune like an Al Hirt tune, like Java. You know,
Right, right.
the band director would teach us that tune. Uh, I don't even remember the full repertoire, but it was kind of easy listening, kind of big band, even like some like Tommy Dorsey kind of stuff, and
Sure.
uh, Woody Herman, those kind of things.
Just for the audience's, I mean, what people need to realize is that jazz was a popular music at that time.
Oh yeah,
So it was
yeah,
like, I mean, Woody Herman, Woodchopper's Ball, or like,
exactly.
jumping at the woodside, like Count Basie, like, I mean, that was pop music. I mean, it's just so classic to know that because I mean, we're so far from that now, which in some ways is kind of unfortunate, but in some ways it's just timing is everything. And but I mean, let's be fair here. I mean, the idea of late 50s, like early birth of the cool, that wasn't
Well,
really
yeah,
happening. That wasn't
that,
really happening at the big band in your
no,
elementary.
not
Yeah,
not in my elementary
yeah,
school,
right.
but I had an older brother, who's 10 years older than me, actually almost 11 years older than me, but he would he would I figured out years and years later that he would experiment with me. So he'd bring me up to his room, because when I was 7 he was 17, right?
Wow, wow.
So he'd bring me up into his room and he'd put on like Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk.
So he knew, even because I mean at that time, I mean I think Monk had some kind of his. I mean he was so hip when it was happening. He knew
He
it was
was.
going. Oh my god, it's
It
insane.
was
Oh my
crazy.
god, because I think I would have missed the boat, Jimmy. I don't think I would have been hip enough, dude. Maybe I would have gotten into Java, but like, so he didn't have the audacity to take you to clubs too. Or you?
No, 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 no. He didn't do that, but he would bring me up to his room and he put on these records that he bought, all like Riverside records,
Oh my
and
god,
yeah,
Warren
yeah,
Keaton is God.
yeah,
This is out of control.
yeah, vinyl, so he'd play
Oh,
songs for me and he'd kind of watch me to see what my reaction was going to be. But it even went beyond that. He started playing me like Prokofiev,
sure.
Bartok, Mozart, Debussy, Messiaen, all kinds of classical, because he was really into classical music.
Was he
So
playing you? He didn't. He wasn't busted out like Subotnick and stuff like that for you, was he?
no, just more of the classics,
Straight
but
ahead classical. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but Eric Dolphy, I mean, all kinds of stuff he would
Oh my
play,
God, the
and
guy
I
was so
was.
hip, man. What the
I was
heck?
I, I was a bit perplexed by it, but it was obvious obviously interesting. Like, wow, what is this?
Right, right.
So, but then on the other side of the fence, there was an aunt that was living with us. It was my mom's sister, and she came up from Puerto Rico and needed a place to stay, so my parents put her up, and she lived with us all through my childhood, and she was into pop, the real sappy pop music, but there's some interesting stuff. So everything from like Andy Williams to you know, uh, Johnny Mathis,
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
But
all that kind of stuff, right?
like Pres Parado too, maybe, or things
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
I think she was going for the crooners, like Andy
Wow, she was a
Williams was,
crew. Yeah, no,
yeah,
I dig. Yeah.
yeah. So there was that stuff coming out of her room, and then my brother's throwing like all this crazy jazz and classical music at me. And then my parents listened to obviously, big band music. So I got turned on to Count Basie and Duke Ellington and Al Hurd, of course. But then also, my parents are from Puerto Rico, so we would listen to Tito Puente and Ray Barreto and Mongo Santa
Oh
Maria and
my God,
say,
the Ponyo All Stars, dude. This is
all that stuff.
unbelievable.
So all that was going on in my
Man.
house from when I was a little kid, and my dad even like he taught me how to play like clave. I mean, all this stuff.
Yeah, I believe it, dude. I mean, I want to be very clear. I just this is gonna make my day and year possibly. It's like in the elementary school big band. Did you have a percussionist as well as a drummer?
We just had a drummer.
I was just saying because I mean that subdivision, that clave, that
Yeah,
descarga has
right.
driven me on this, and I just want you to free associate on that because I mean you've reached the highest heights in music, but as a patron, as a journalist, as what I consider to be an ambassador of the music, what has driven me forward is subdivision, is
Oh
is
wow.
is descarga, is the
Yeah.
spiritual discharge,
Oh
and
wow.
you were getting that basically from the womb, man.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, because they were going to dance and stuff while my mom was pregnant.
I know.
So
Well, I just can you talk about how? I mean, it sounds so, but to me, even in the most formulaic setting, subdivision of the rhythm section is the key to healing. And I just kind of wanted you to talk about like, were you already like even unconscious or subconsciously, you already had that groove down? I mean, it was you weren't hearing. I mean, you knew where the time was, but you were
yes,
playing through the time.
yes, because you grow up with that. Plus, so technically and truly, I have Puerto Rican blood in my in
Yeah,
my
like
DNA.
you're like Eddie Gomez, dude. That's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally danceable stuff, man.
yeah. So that just became second nature. You know,
Exactly,
for the
exactly.
for the most part. So when I started playing for real, like professionally in bands, time was never a problem. Uh, I could hear it, and the other crazy thing is I never went on to music school or anything. I went right from high school to like being in a top 40 band,
That's
and
interesting
learning.
too. That's really fast. I just want to be clear. Explain. I mean, the especially for younger cats who, because so many cats today. I mean, you kind of were in many ways like most of your generation, like an autodidact. I mean, you learned to hear the music before you learned to read it. Um,
Exactly.
your ears
That,
were wide, huge, and now a lot of cats they learn to read the music before they can hear it, and their ears get locked at a certain point. And I just wonder if you could just talk about like not being the way you feel the time and how you have never really worked. Not I just you're not consumed with the downbeat. I mean, you know where the pulse is, you know where the pulse is in the music, and that's all that matters.
yeah, yeah, and the pulse can be flexible even.
Exactly. It's like a rubber band, It's like
Exactly.
those Monk records were all rubber band, man. I mean, it was all like stretch it as far, like you said, like you can stretch it as far as you can go as long as you don't go out of bounds.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't want to go out of
No,
bounds.
don't go out of bounds.
Yeah. So that was it. My ear was my friend, and when I first picked up the bass, I was 13, and I knew nothing about the technical aspects of the instrument. And I was kind of amazed about it because I prior to that I'd only been seeing like string basses, and then in salsa bands I see the baby bass, which was kind of the brother-in-law of the upright bass. But it
You got to break that down. Well, I've never. What's the baby bass?
the ba- the baby bass is the instrument that you normally, in most cases, would see in a salsa band. It's a smaller body. It's kind of semi-hollow, so it has a very percussive sound. It's very muted and has a very percussive sound. So therefore, fitting in with the congas and the bongos and the timbali and the cowbell and all that, it's
Oh
just.
my God, dude. Oh, I mean, I'm sorry that I thought you were just gonna say, um, I mean, did you ever? By the way, I just really need to ask you this question because he's. I just felt his spirit very strongly. Did you ever cross paths with Bobby Rodriguez, the bass player?
I never
You
did
know who I'm
fish.
talking about,
Yeah, I
right?
do.
Oh my,
I
that
do.
dude was the nastiest salsa bit. I've never heard a better bass player in my freaking life. I was like, you kind of your vibe is. I never met that cat, but man, and he was playing electric. But you're telling me early on the salsa bands when you would go see live, I don't care
Live
who,
salsa. Yeah, I saw it.
weddings,
Weddings.
they
Yeah,
weren't playing the electric yet. They were playing the baby bass
the baby
or the
bass.
bass
Yeah.
fiddle. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's what I. So as a kid, that's what I equated to the bass. It was a
Right.
string
Right.
bass
Right.
or a baby bass. But then I was like in the seventh grade, and there was a dance, a school dance. So I went to the dance, and there was a band, a rock band, and there was an electric bass player. So, and I went, "Holy, that's 1962." And I'm going like, wow, and shortly thereafter, I mean, I'd seen the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show.
That's right.
So
62 is when
yeah,
they first went on there. That's right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that year, I got turned on to the electric bass in a big way. It was
Wow.
probably I'd probably seen it before, but didn't pay attention to it until that year, and then I went, wow, what a cool thing. That's a bass.
What do you remember early on, like especially like when you because uh you know, this was before, I mean, there weren't even monitors on the stage. I mean,
No.
like I'm just wondering, like when you first picked up an electric bass, especially in when the PAs were not that great, mid
No.
60s, like when you had to generate. I just want you to talk about this. Is very. I remember Harold Jones, the great drummer. He told me that when he was playing in these organ trios in Chicago, there would be a guitar and a B3, and they would have monitors, but he wouldn't as a drummer, and there was really no sophisticated, sort of PA system. So he had to generate volume through physicality and soul. And I feel
Right.
like early on, like with the electric, I mean, did you learn a sort of technique to get volume out of the instrument without the actual synthetic amplification?
Well, I had an amp, very small,
Yeah,
little
very
bass
small. It
amp.
was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like one speaker and maybe 100 watts, who knows. But in fact it was a Gretsch bass amp, which is probably not the greatest, but I was able to plug into that and get a sound. And then it was just a matter of standing in the room and hearing what else was going on and blending in. So that was it. You just use your ear. Even at that point in time, I have to even add, I didn't even know where all the notes were on the fretboard. I just I
Yeah,
learned
you were just feeling your way through it. I love
yeah,
it.
and
Yeah.
I learned a lot of tunes just by looking at patterns. So I'd
It's
see,
beautiful, man.
that's
Yeah.
how I learned 1-4-5, which is basic blues pattern, and that's what most rock and roll songs had anyway. So once I knew that, it's just a matter of, okay, what fret does the song start on? So and it had dots. Obviously, have those little markers on the
Sure.
fretboard. So I'd use that as a map to figure out where the first notes would be placed, and then I knew like the 1 4 5 progression. So I knew there was the note above, which is a fourth, and then you go a whole step up, and there's your fifth. So
I
that's
mean,
how I
I
learned.
mean, this is so because you're talking just about like being a street scholar. I just
That's
think,
that's
I
all
just,
it was.
I mean, did you? Because everyone from your generation that I've interviewed, and it's been a lot, even guys that maybe were a couple years your senior, they may not have graduated Berkeley or wherever, but they went to school. I mean, for you, it was
Right.
like you just looked at it, or you weren't going to be in the academy, and you weren't necessarily like aiming to be, Gary Peacock or Steve Swallow.
No,
So
no,
I mean, explain why you didn't even didn't go to school. Like it was obviously though there was so much work. Again, going back to the employability, the employment of a musician seen as a viable profession. Um, and then of course the funny thing is, Abel Boreal told me even in the early '70s, Berkeley didn't even recognize the electric bass as a real instrument.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an odd duck, you know. And I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought, well, this is
Well,
kind
you
of
were on
a
the fringe, right? You're being
yeah,
on the fringe, right? Yeah.
exactly. That's all.
Right.
That's where it all went. So 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 yeah. So I never even thought about going to music school. I never thought in those days, when I was in junior high school and high school, I never thought of music being a career. I loved it. I enjoyed it. And I played in all these different bands, and learned a lot of songs. Um, in fact, I'm still in touch with some of the guys I played with in high school.
So beautiful, man.
I'll never forget it because it was just kind of a wide open experience. There was no pressure. You just like learn the songs and you go play and have fun, and people that were there would enjoy what you were doing. You could say, well, I'm bringing joy and harmony to a bunch of people here. So what's wrong with that? Is that so bad?
No, I mean it was just such a. It was. I remember Phil Wood saying that. I mean, this is a little bit coming out of World War II. It's just there was just this explosion of joy and excitement, and that music was jazz, but that turned
Yeah,
sort of seeped into. I mean, what was cool is that I mean their race records were prevalent. I don't even know if the word rock and roll was, I mean, that might have been starting to be used in the early 60s, but it was so the Duke Ellington school of it's all music, and then the subjective part is either it's good or bad. But it was, I mean, it
right.
was a major source of joy for the public, like live
For
music
everybody.
especially. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And we weren't inundated with technology, so it was all like, it was all analog.
Well,
Everything.
on top of that, also it was like, I mean, what I realized at 47, I mean, just I lived in the analog world for 20 years or so, and um,
Nothing wrong with it.
no, no, no. Let me tell you something. It if you go back, I mean, listen, it was just Billy Harper's birthday. I was going back and watching these Max Roach interviews, and he's talking so eloquently, but very methodically, very slow. Today, we are so sped up. We don't allow the opportunity to really listen. If unless it's it's edited in a super speed motion, especially my daughters and stuff. I mean, it is, and so the anxiety is just higher. You talked about
Yeah.
how free and happy it was. I can't even imagine. It's like Tiny Tim into Miles Davis at the Isle of Wight Festival.
Yeah, look at
Unbelievable.
that. Yes. or
Unre-
or
Unreal.
the Monkees touring with Jimi Hendrix
Oh
as an
my God,
opening
it
act.
was like the Eagle, the Black Sabbath and Mahavishnu Orchestra. It's ridiculous.
There you go.
No, I was going to ask you, when was the first time that your brother, or just in general, that you went to the Palladium to see Harlow and Tito and those cats?
Well, actually, I didn't. see any of that, any of the professional stuff till much later.
Really?
Yeah, when I was,
I figured you'd be taking the Long Island Railroad into Woodside and then firing into the Palladium or something, you know?
yeah, well, I had this other side.
Oh
So I was a jock in school. So
wow, you're
I
playing football and stuff.
I was playing football. I played 5 sports every year.
Damn.
I was on the football team. I was on the basketball team. I was on the track team. I was on the baseball team and lacrosse team. So
What the heck, dude? How did you even have time to do all this stuff,
yeah,
man? Yeah.
doing all that and then being in bands, playing. I was also in choirs. I was in the school choir, and I got thrown into the Suffolk County choir, which was they picked all these handpicked uh, singers from all the different schools and made a choir to do a big concert. I
Oh
don't
my
even remember what town
God.
that was at, like Babylon or something. I can't.
Babylon Sisters, dude.
Yeah.
Vegas, dude. I can't believe that. I mean, so you didn't have your weekends were booked all the time with sports.
With
I mean, it
sports
wasn't
and
like you
music.
were. It wasn't like you were going into the Village Gate and rocking out. You know, it was
No,
like you didn't have time. You weren't doing that.
no, I was working out.
Yeah,
I was, in the schedule playing games.
yeah, dude. You had to go to. You probably had three different. You probably played like three games in one day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I when I was in junior high school, I joined this athletics club that was in actually, it was in Centerport. Um, it was called the Norton Athletic Club, and my dad kind of hooked me up with them, and they they had basketball teams. So I played on their basketball team. It was called the Tomcats,
I love
and
this,
and
dude.
and because I was a big kid, I was already 6'1" when I was like in junior high school. So I was like the center. I played center for the Tomcats, but then there was this tournament that had a man short in the older group. These were high school guys, right? So they were a man short, so they stuck me in with the high school guys, and I played forward in a tournament. So I played 3 games in one day, full on, full court games with 3 different teams.
Dude, this is insane, dude. I mean, it sounds like Long Island in the mid '60s, late '60s.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable. It's
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. So I did all that. They also had a baseball team, so I joined the baseball team, and actually, because I'm left-handed, you know that, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's the other crazy part of how I play. But on the baseball team, I could hit right-handed and left-handed, which was another thing. At an early age, I was ambidextrous because I lived in a right-handed world, so I learned how to do things with both hands. So I could actually dribble with both hands, which most kids my age at that point, well, they just could dribble on with one hand and shoot with one hand. I could do everything with both hands. So that was an attribute
I mean,
for.
I'm surprised that you. I mean, it's you must have had an interesting crossroads because I'm sure you probably could have gone and played ball somewhere at college somewhere.
Well, that was something that I was more focused on than a music career.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I got hurt. I got hurt
Oh
pretty
wow. What? Yeah.
pretty
So you had a okay. So what sport did you get hurt in?
football, and I it was my senior year, which would have been the good year to get some attention from some
Sure.
colleges and whatever.
Before that, you were considered a top player.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in there. I was definitely.
I mean, you
Uh,
could have, and they would have seen the raw talent or something and said, I mean, it's possible you would have gotten a scholarship to like maybe like uh
a small school.
yeah, like Colgate or
Yeah,
maybe even
something like
yeah,
that. In
yeah,
fact,
Hobart or something.
Colgate was on the list because my basketball coach in the seventh grade, graduated from Colgate, and he played basketball for them. So he had me in mind.
So funny.
Yeah. Um,
So
so
you blew out your knee or what? I mean, something happened.
Well, yeah, I got into a crazy pileup, and I actually broke my leg in 5 places, but
Oh,
and separated my hip. Which in turn, I sprained all the lower muscles in my lower back. Uh,
unbelievable.
yeah, so it was a bad injury. Um, uh, it was kind of a crazy time too because I was really into playing. So I actually went to practice for a whole week after I got hurt because we didn't have very good sports medicine program. It was the '60s. So
I'm sorry. You had your a leg broken in 5 places, and you were still going to practice.
yeah, because they were all hairline fractures.
This is absurd. This is absurd. This is ridiculous. I don't care if they were hairline fractures. So I mean, you're telling me that you walked off on your own assistance and did not go get medical care.
No. Oh, the team doctor looked at me and said, "I think it's a sprain."
Oh, jeez.
So
Wow.
they sat me out for the rest of that game, and then the following week I attended practice for 5 days before
Oh,
the next game.
oh my
But
God.
but by the end of the week, my leg was in really bad shape. So finally, my dad took me to emergency room, hospital to get it looked at, and they took an X-ray. And then the next thing I knew, this guy walked in with 2 buckets of plaster,
Right. Yep.
and that
Plaster
was
Paris, dude. They
that.
mold that cast on you. That's right.
That's it. That was the end
Wow.
of that.
Wow. Okay,
So
so that was like at that point, that was the mummification of your sports career. I mean, you were out.
yeah, I still play that. Once I got my cast off, I went ahead and joined the summer lacrosse league. I played with, uh, uh, basically guys from my high school that played in the summer league. And we had we had some very intense battles too. So, but it got me back in shape. You know.
Right. No, I mean, just it was sort of like one of those things where the idea of then I just would love you to talk like obviously getting back into shape, but I mean, you at that point were like
Yeah, I don't know
you
what's
got a
going
little
on.
more serious. You got a little bit more serious about just figuring out
What
that
am I
maybe
doing?
well, like music would be the direction. It just wasn't going to be a traditional avenue.
Right. And actually, what happened was I did go to college for a semester.
You did.
Yeah,
Where,
I went to uh, Suffolk County Community
oh
College.
my God, that's wait a minute. What town is that in? I don't even
That's
know.
at Westbury.
Is that still Suffolk or is that Nassau County?
Actually, I'm sorry. You know what?
Yeah,
I applied for Suffolk Community College, but I ended up going to Nassau Community College.
Nassau, which is definitely in
That's from
Westbury.
Westbury. Yes.
Unbelievable. We went over the border, dude.
Yeah, so I became a lion. That was the but I got really bored going to school there, and I ended up going to this local bar in Huntington one night, and I ran into a buddy of mine who was away from at school but home for a holiday or something, and he said, "Hey, you still play bass?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, yeah, I still fool around with it." I said, "But I'm not in a band or anything now." And he said, "You remember my cousin? He had an older cousin who, when I was now 18, I think he was 27, which for an 18-year-old, that seems ancient, but
Very old. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, but 27. So he was putting a new band together. He was an organist. He played B3 and had a really great voice. His claim to fame, which I knew him through this friend of mine, it was his cousin. His claim to fame was before he went to college, he was in a band with Felix Cavalieri.
My dear friend, done a couple I love, dude. So. This is like pre-Rascals
Yeah,
feelings. Yeah.
yes,
Oh my
because
God,
they
dude, that's
he
so
grew this
sick.
because his cousin grew up in New Rochelle, so
Oh.
I think
Were you?
that's
Is he? He was playing like Jimmy Smith kind of grooves, or like what was?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He was
yeah.
into that, and of course, when I auditioned for the band, I thought I'm never going to get this. I hadn't been playing that much, and all the guys in this group that I auditioned for were older. I think the next closest age was a guitar player who was like 24, and I was 18, so just turning 18. So, there it was. I auditioned, and they said, "Okay, we'll call you. We got to audition a few other guys." They were very friendly and upfront about it all. And a few days later, they call me back and say, "You got the gig."
Oh man.
And I was in college, and they said, "Here's a rep." They sent me. I hooked up with the guitar player, and he wrote out a 50 song repertoire.
That is a big bag of tunes, man.
Yeah, and it was mostly like R&B stuff. So Sly Stone, uh,
It was like Booker T and the MGs, maybe.
yeah, Booker
Yeah,
T,
yeah.
James Brown, Wilson Pickett, Otis Redding,
Sure,
you name it. There's all the bunch of Four Tops, all kinds of R&B stuff, even like Creedence Clearwater stuff.
sure. Like, yeah, all the like. So we're talking like '66, something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
like the song that one song Creedence Clearwater song that we learned was "Down on the Corner."
Down on the Corner, yeah, Born
Yeah,
on the Bayou.
yeah, we learned that too.
Yeah, no, that was. I mean, dude, Credence. Even though it was a terrible situation with Saul Zaentz, I mean, he ripped them off, but it
Oh,
made there was so many epic uh, black jazz records that were made because of that. On
yeah,
Fantasy, and so I mean, Fogerty. I don't blame that they're pissed off, but
yeah,
I mean, the money went to it. I mean, there'd be no Joe Henderson or Charles Earland from the early '70s
uh,
without that stuff.
without that stuff, exactly.
So
Yeah.
I mean, you're telling me that you had to you were going on like sort of a New York or Long Island circuit tour a little bit. You toured that, or was it all local?
Yeah, all of, is Long Island, New Jersey, upstate New York, Connecticut.
Oh my God, dude!
We
There
even
was
did,
so many sick bands around at that time, dude.
yeah, we even did some gigs in like Pennsylvania. Like well, there was a gig in Hershey of all places.
Yeah, I
We
bet.
played. There was a club called the Exit Club, and it was a tiny little bar, and we played there. And we had horns. Later added two horn players and a lead singer. So, and
Wow.
that's kind of a funny story because the horn players and the lead singer were from a band called what was it? And so our band was called Captain Cook, and but their band, the singer and the horn players were coming from a band called the Dirty Dog Saloon. So we've put the two bands together and got a lot of gigs because now we had trumpet and sax and this black singer who was great. This guy Bobby Baskerville, he sounded like James Brown. He was
Right. No,
incredible.
no, those they were it was a burning soul band at that
Oh,
point.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he would come out on stage and go, "Ladies and gentlemen, glad to see you all here. Uh, we're Captain Cook in the Dirty Dog Saloon." He goes, uh, "This these are the dirty dogs." He'd point to us, and he goes, "I'm Captain Cook, and this here is the saloon."
Were
So
you playing essentially were you did you play any originals or was it all cover tunes?
all
Yeah.
covers, like tons. Like I ended up learning hundreds of tunes.
Were you learning like I mean was it too early to learn like Tower of Power stuff, or because they were on the scene like 68 or
Yeah.
67.
Well, amazingly, I knew nothing about Tower Power.
Of course, I mean we weren't interconnected. They were doing
No,
most. I mean they were all the way on in California.
exactly. So this is what happened after almost, I don't know, 8 months of one, of playing 7 nights a week, 5 shows a night, which made me leave school. Uh, uh,
Right.
uh, and that was kind of a bummer in one respect because I got drafted.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah,
but
that's what you didn't have the school protection, right?
no, the two S the two S deferment.
The Furman, you're right, is
Yeah,
gone. We got
yeah,
school.
that
Yeah.
was gone. So I immediately was contacted by the local draft board, which was like somewhere out in Patchogue or something, Uh,
Sure.
um, and I had to go in and do a full, the full physical and even some written tests. And they drove us in a school bus out to Brooklyn, Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn, which was a naval base. And that's where I did my physical and written test for the Army.
Wow.
So that's 1970. Yeah, 1970.
That was in like the freaking. I mean, that was at the height of the Vietnam War too. It was horrible.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Horrible.
I had a low number in the lottery. My number was 100. So
Is that her breakfast or yesterday's dinner? Breakfast.
so I go out there, I did the test and everything, and I just figured I'm gonna probably get suited up and go to basic training after that. Um, and so the very last thing they looked at was my feet. I have flat feet, and the team of doctors examined my feet, and they gave me they gave me a 1Y category for my draft card. And I said, well, what's 1Y? They said, you're not fit for military service unless there's a national emergency. So they let me go home.
Oh man. I mean, the
I
truth of the matter is, you probably. I mean, it's fair to say that if you had been, fully drafted and stuff. I mean, the timing might have been okay. It was sort of winding down after that, but who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, and I had plenty of buddies that I went to school with that went over there. So it was a tough time as far as that was
So
concerned.
you were aware of the fact that if you uh left school and did, because you were crazy about playing music live and stuff, you knew that was potentially there though, that you could be doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did, and
Yeah.
I was I was sort of trying to live a dream, and
Yeah, I
that
did. I did.
at that point, and then uh, that came down and slapped me upside the head when I got my notice from the draft board. But amazingly, I was let go, and to be honest, I was on the fence about it all. But had I been drafted and put into the Army, I probably would have went. I was still in good shape from playing all those sports, and I
I mean,
was.
you would have followed the orders. You would have done it.
Yeah, I would have followed whatever they told
Yeah.
me to do. So the fact they told me to go home, I was kind of perplexed by it. I was like, holy shit, how did that happen? So the next thing I know is back in the band.
No,
And
we were keeping they're keeping the base spot warm for you.
yeah, exactly.
Love it. Freaking love it. So I mean, was it? Is it? I mean, I never made it out there, but were you? I mean, did you play My Father's Place a lot?
No, they were.
That place was iconic. I mean, it was in Nassau County, but Roslyn, the entire town would come out on Thursday night. I mean, it was insane. The stories
Oh
that I
yeah.
heard. Yeah,
Oh, I saw a lot of music there.
I know you did. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I went there quite often when I lived there, and even when I moved away. So I was even going to mention that
yeah.
shortly after that, I did leave the band. So now we're looking at 1971. I decided to drive out to San Francisco to see an old friend of mine that was opening a health food restaurant north of San Francisco. So I ended up going out there. I drove out there. It took me like 5 days.
Well, he was opening like Marin County or something.
What's that?
It was like Marin County. Where was the
it was further up. It was all the way up. It's a town called Gurneyville,
Oh yeah,
which
that's how
was
you
not
that's how you
just a
pronounce
little
it.
bit south of Fort Bragg.
Yeah, no, I never knew you pronounced it like
Yeah,
that. Dan
Gurneyville.
Healy
Yeah.
Dan Healy had a radio station he built up there. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like this real hippie town. So I ended up there, and then I met some guys from Elvin Bishop's band
Oh my
that had
God.
some gigs down in town in San Francisco. So I ended up playing with those guys. And
You
a
didn't
guitar player
you never met
came
it
with
wasn't
me
like Ron
from
it
New
wasn't like
York.
Ron was it like Ron Stallings or someone? Like who do you meet?
No, no, in fact I can't remember his name, but he was a harp player
Interesting.
that played a bit with Elvin Bishop. So he brought me back down to San Francisco, and we played this place in San Rafael called In Your Ear,
Oh my
and then
God.
played some little bar in town right in San Francisco, and that's when I got introduced to that whole scene, and I was like, wow, what's going on here? So I knew I was in the sacred ground here, from like Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, you name it,
Were
Quicksilver
you
Messenger
this is so
Service.
interesting. I mean, this is like what's so crazy is that I mean also the Latin jazz scene there because it was insane. It was nuts over there.
Yeah, right. And I see, I didn't even notice that. But what I did get involved in was at one point somebody took me to Keystone Corner
Oh,
in
brother
in
Bar
Berkeley,
Khan, dude. Yeah.
and I saw two bands that blew my mind.
I
I
want to
saw
oh hold on. What year was this? What year was this?
1971.
All right, I want to take a guess.
Okay.
All right. Wait, hold on. So this was hold on a second. This was still had Todd Barkin taken over the Keystone at this point, or was it still Freddie Herrera? I'm just curious.
I'm not sure. I got taken there by some people. They said you got to check out these bands.
I'm going to
So I
say
went,
Arts Ensemble of Chicago and Weather Report.
okay, well, that would have been incredible too.
Yeah.
But it was Tower of Power and Cold Blood.
On Lydia Pence. I got to send you my
Lydia,
interview with Lydia. I got to send you my interview with her. Yeah,
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. And then the Tower of Power with Lenny Williams, right?
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah,
Garibaldi and Rocco.
yeah,
Fucking that
yeah.
group, man.
Rocco and
Holy
Garibaldi.
shit,
Yeah,
man.
I was just I turned into a pile of dust after
Dude, I
that.
mean, honestly, that is so brilliantly so classic because I mean, I interviewed Rocco and I mean that dude was the most unassuming genius and really knew nothing about theory, you know?
No,
None.
absolutely nothing. No,
Yeah.
no. I met Rocco years later. I ended up working. When I met Russell Ferrante,
Yeah.
um, he turned me on to a singer that he had worked with and did a recording with on Atlantic Records, and it was a girl named Marilyn Scott.
Right.
And I ended up writing some songs with her. And the first thing I did with her was I did her second record, which was on Polygram Records, and it was produced by Michael Cimbello. And I found out then that she had been and the Tower Power horn section played on some of this music, and then we ended up doing live gigs with the horn section. So I met, you know, uh, and Doc Kupchak and Mick
Oh,
Gillette and
oh my God, dude.
yeah,
Yeah, no, freaking Emilio and all those
yeah,
guys, man.
yeah, and actually Lenny Pickett was already out of the band by that time, so that's where I met Mark Russo,
Wow.
who ended up in the Yellow Jackets.
I want to be clear. So you went you got your mind complete. You melted away with that cold
By
blood
Tower Power, yeah.
Tower of Power concert, and
Even
then
Cold Blood killed me. I thought that was a great.
no, I mean, dude, they were a dude. I mean, back in the day, man. I mean, those that band was ferocious,
Yeah, it's
so
incredible.
funky too. I mean, did you wind up, um, because there was like Jacks on Sutter, where Chester Thompson, the organ player, would go. I mean, late jazz jams. I mean, were you? And it was soul jazz, and it was
Right.
like funk. And I mean, were you, um, like, was that part of your bag, or were you just sort of, at rock fusion adjacent at that point?
No, I was anything, everything, and yeah, I was just into music. So
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many bands I saw when I was in high school going to the Fillmore. Yeah, at one point, I wasn't going so much to the Village to hear jazz, but I was going to the Fillmore East a lot. So
Right, you were going to see like Jethro Tull and
all
Iron
that.
Iron Butterfly and all that stuff.
I saw Jethro Tull when they hadn't even released their first record.
Right. Well, that's like, I mean, that was the magic of that time. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember Carabello, or I think Michael, or maybe Shreve said to me, he's like, that, I mean, essentially, the promoter of Woodstock was like, we need a couple of spots, and I forget, I guess it was Bill Graham was like, well, here's a couple of cassette tapes of Santana. They didn't even have a record out.
No,
And
exactly.
then they fucking, it's just wild. So my other thing was, the other thing that I want to say. So I'm glad you brought that up. The Fillmore East, that was obviously a hot spot, but
It was.
the all the cats that I've interviewed, they said that there was within the contract, if you played there, you couldn't play within a 50-mile radius of the venue. The closest place to play was the Pritchard Gym at Stony Brook. I'm like,
Oh wow, yeah, I saw something there. I saw
yeah,
the Allman Brothers there.
yeah, because I mean, in 1971, I think they had like 170 shows there, which is like Jethro Tull, Mahavishnu, Allman Brothers, Grateful Dead. It
Yeah,
was like and that
I
was my
saw.
hometown. I would have been like, this is insane.
I saw most of that.
Yeah.
Including I'll never forget. Guys, I can't remember who else was on the bill. Maybe it was like Chicago or Transit Authority or somebody.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, but Fillmore always had three bands. So,
right.
and you didn't really know who the first couple of bands were.
There was nothing on the marquee out front. It's
No.
like, yeah, I love it. Yeah.
So I'm sitting in my seat, and the announcer comes on and says, "Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first band tonight, new band, their first time in the U.S. Please welcome Led Zeppelin."
Wow.
So I
Wow.
go, "What the hell is that?" And then forget it. I just my head exploded.
I mean, yeah, because uh, Bruford told me that too with Yes. I mean, that transatlantic connection was magical at that time too.
Yes,
I mean, with
absolutely.
Cream and with Eric
Everything. Yeah,
Burden, and just
yeah.
everything was
Hendrix.
melting together, man. Just insane.
So and I saw Hendrix a whole bunch of times.
You
So
did?
yeah,
What
yeah.
was the smallest venue you ever saw him in?
The smallest venue. Let me think about that.
I mean,
Well,
if you saw him at the
I,
Fillmore East, that's a pretty intimate thing.
that was intimate. I saw him there. I saw him at a small a theater. It was probably 1,000 seat theater at CW Post.
Oh, here we go. Long Island again, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my,
I saw him. I saw him at Madison Square Garden. That's a big place. So
that's you. I can't believe
yeah.
you. So you did. I mean, it's fair to say Brother Haslip was Friday nights going in to see, Vanilla Fudge
Oh yeah.
and Cactus, but then basically just didn't even sleep, and then you'd go to lacrosse practice or something. I mean, you
Yeah.
were, right? I mean, you were
Exactly.
not. Yeah. So I mean, because you weren't. My father's place was, that had like,
Oops.
like, can you hear me?
I lost you there for a
I hear you.
second.
You all
Hang
right?
on.
Are you there, Brother Haslip?
Uh,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now.
All
Okay.
right. Yeah, I was going to actually propose this to you because do you want? Can we do set two? I think we're going to have to do multiple sets here. We're not going to get through it
Okay.
all today.
That's okay. There's a lot of stuff.
No, I mean, as long as you're enjoying it. I mean,
I
I've
am.
done. Yeah, I mean, there's no way that this is just sort of. Why don't I'll look at my schedule? But I don't know if you're around the rest of this week, but maybe we can do set two. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm around. I'm around. So let's communicate on email.
yeah.
Unless I can access my calendar here. I don't know if I can.
No, let me look at my
Yeah,
schedule and then
I can
I'll get
actually
with
go to
you.
another computer here.
Yeah.
Let me do that.
All right. Yeah. Good. Do it.
Um,
Yeah, you were doing like, Tim Bogert cactus into
oh, I love Tim.
yeah,
In
and Tim is
fact,
he's so sick, man. Rest in peace, right?
oh yeah, yeah, so just on a tangent,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I became very good friends with both Carmine Appice and Mark Stein from the
Well, I
Vanilla Fudge.
love. I got to send you my Appice is how you pronounce his last name.
Well, that's how I pronounce it.
Oh
Yeah,
my
a
God, I
piece.
got it.
Some
No,
people
what?
say a piece, but
Yeah, that is nuts, dude. Yeah, Vanilla Fudge, man.
so in fact, Carmine was the one responsible for me coming to LA.
All right, well let's save that.
Okay,
I don't want to get. Let's
that's a
save
whole
it.
nother thing that happened.
What's going on? How you looking about Wednesday, same time?
Let's see. I just opened my calendar here. So we're at Wednesday, the 21st. What the heck? Um, I think that's okay.
All right. Well, listen, I'll send you a link. If someone comes up, just let me know. But yeah, I have a feeling this is going to be like a 3 or 4 parter. Keltner and I are on about 8 parts now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
There
So
you
let me just say, but it's like, I mean, you just sort of fell into this melodic, this vat of melody. It's like in harmony. It's just like insane. Uh, you
It's an
know,
insane kind of thing that
but
happened.
it's just like how you. I mean, everybody knows you for their own certain things, but that's after you sort of cross this threshold of just going in and out of all this really magical milieu of it was the times. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just. And so, but Jimmy, man, so thank you for kicking off my day, man. This was really fun, man.
Oh yeah. No, it's incredible, and we'll talk some more. There's a
And we
lot.
got more to do,
There's
dude.
a lot more.
Yeah, brother. Thank you to Brother Zobler, Long Island for life, dude.
Yes.
Yeah.